Another Friday. It is the 14th of January, the year 2022, the Irvin Law Show. Myself, Leslie Peters, with the man, Charles Irvin, and our wonderful master producer will be here shortly, and Kennedy Harrison. Charles, what's going on today, man?
Oh, happy Friday, man. The weather's nice, and I don't know how long it's gonna stay nice, but we'll take it as it comes.
Well, I can tell you I'm sending rain your way.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sending rain your way. Probably around Sunday. It hasn't made it here yet, but it's here, and
Yeah.
so it'll probably be raining probably at some point during our broadcast. But enjoy your day because I'm sending it your way.
Yeah. Well, the day is coming to an end right now, so we'll see how we
Well, you probably still got a good day tomorrow, for the most part of it, and then I'll send it. I'll send it on the way.
I don't
So
know
you
about
got
that.
one more good day.
I don't know about that because it's already very overcast.
Oh well, never mind. Your time is up.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into anything serious, man, just recap us. How was your week? Give us some inspiration. Uh, Give us something.
It's been a good week overall. I mean, the work has been the work, and just kind of ducking and dodging Omicron. I mean, the numbers in Mississippi are alarmingly high. I know the NAACP has gone through and canceled some events just to try to cut down on spread with the holiday coming up Monday. That's where we are. You take the positives, but you have to be aware of the pandemic. It is still with us, and it's still blazing hot right now.
It is definitely still with us, and I always like to remind people that the Corona is still here. I mean, it's brought its cousins, and now we into the third cousins, as they say. But it's the family unit. Corona is still very much present.
Very much so.
I think, if I may, I think one of the challenges with the Omicron is from people I've talked to, and I can't certainly say for everybody. I haven't talked to everybody, but for people that I've talked to that's contracted the virus and Omicron, that's been vaccinated, and it's for the most part, it's been like the cold or flu symptoms, and then they recover, and then some people have been totally asymptomatic. And so I think that's caused some apathy because it's been much milder than Delta was or Alpha. So I do you think that could be causing even more apathy or kind of relaxed behavior among people?
I think that and the duration of the pandemic. You've asked people to change their behavior for an extensive period of time. So, good evening, Antonio. So, I mean, people tend to revert back. I mean, it's no different than New Year's resolutions. The gym is full for the first 10 days, but
Look at it now.
after that, it's back to whatever you were doing.
It's amazing how that happens, right?
Yeah. So I mean, you ask people to wear masks and sanitize and wash their hands, which jokers should be washing their hands anyway. But people have kind of gone away from wearing masks, and they're not factoring in that this is a different virus. Hey, Kennedy.
Hey, everybody.
There's that master producer.
Yeah.
Right there.
So it's different in that Omicron spreads really, really fast, And so if you're not doing the things that were asked of you in the beginning, we're in the middle now, and the parameters have changed. And I would disagree with you slightly because I've gotten reports of people who have been vaccinated and they're on oxygen, not doing so well. So, there's that. It affects different host bodies differently.
Yeah.
And my biggest concern, and I keep telling you this, my biggest concern in 2022 is people not taking Omicron COVID as serious as they should, and they let another killer variant jump up on us.
Yes.
It's already one up, if I'm not mistaken, Flurona. I think that's an actual thing.
It is.
I'm
But
gonna
I'm
say,
just
yeah,
saying, we haven't seen the mass numbers from it yet.
Okay.
By the time we start to see those numbers, it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. But by the time you get to the point where you're seeing numbers, it's too late to recover from it at that point.
Yeah. So, Kennedy, how was your week?
My week was actually very productive. I had a very great first week of classes. So it was great. I enjoyed it. Classes was pretty good. Don't you think? Dr. Irvin class was great.
Yeah, I think the focus is not quite where I want it to be, but that'll come.
Did he already tell you, Mr. Peters, about our class?
He did not tell me. So you're gonna have to tell me about that one.
Kennedy is back in my class since it's been a long time. Last spring, I think. Last spring or last fall, maybe. I can't remember. It's been a while though.
Okay.
And she is now in one of my upper level classes, and it's a little bit different than an intro class.
It's not bad for me. It's just for the other students. I think they're just kind of shocked. They was like, dang, he's usually nicer. I was like, it's just, it's a more upper level class because he's serious about the LSAT, y'all. That's it. But then today, they kept on asking about class when he said, I'll see y'all Monday. In the group meet, and it was like, "Why well, joined on the link?" I said, "There's no class," and then I went back to sleep.
You know what it was? I'm gonna tell you what it was. He hit him so hard that they didn't trust that he was giving them the day off, and so it's like, no, that's a trick. That's a trick.
It really, Mr. Peters, it really was because he got on, and I guess some people were late, and he was just like, "No excuses." He said, he was like, y'all faces are supposed to be on, but I'm gonna let y'all slide and give y'all a pass. We only got like 1 week of virtual left. That's literally what he was just saying. I was like, oh wow.
Hey, I get it. I get it.
So Leslie, for context, this is the class that is the gateway to law school, which is professional school, which is a whole different step than undergrad.
That is true.
And having lived through that experience 22 years ago, I want them to be prepared for what they are stepping into, because it is very, 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 it's exponentially different than undergraduate. And so your minds have to be right. Your hearts have to be right. Your character has to be right. You can't have any weaknesses, because those weaknesses become liabilities when you get to professional school setting, whether it's law school, B school, PhD, whatever masters, whatever those professional schools that you're going to are, they will expose you. It's no different than getting to play college basketball and not being able to dribble with your left hand.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
Look, it's true. And I'm laughing because I had a student tell me once, like, do you have a twin? Because you really don't act like the same professor I had for the last 2 classes.
Oh,
so, it's just,
that's a good one.
Well, you had an intro to business class, and now we have a management marketing class, which is totally different. So now the expectation is different because now we're getting into what I call, and Charles know I use the term not revenue, direct revenue ties. So in the course of case of law school, this is direct revenue ties because it's directly tied to your admission into where you're trying to get your next destination. And he's already done it. And so there's an easier path and there's a hard path.
Yes,
Trying to
sir.
prepare you to be able to take the easier path.
That's right. Because Jackson State prepared me for a lot of things. I told people this. I still tell people this. However, there are certain things that you need just a little bit more seasoning on before you step on a law school campus, because if you haven't been exposed to them, they will expose you.
Yeah,
And
very true.
it's really small things.
Yeah.
It is. So did you guys already can I go ahead and slide in since we're talking about exposing? It's this one thing that I really wanted to talk about that was a part of the icebreaker. It was called, I already told Dr. Irvin, but I was able to tell you, Mr. Peters, it's really good. Everyone, it's a docuseries on Netflix called How to Fix a Drug Scandal. And it exposed how basically, so I really don't want to tell the whole thing, but basically it was these two road chemists in Massachusetts. It was like on the city side and it was on the rural side. And so basically they were doing it was called blabbing, but they would grab like 10, 15 cases and only test one. One girl did this. She would only test one case for drugs. And some of it would be tested like table salt. And they finally caught on to her, and she had to serve no later than no more than 3 years, but no less than 3 years, but no more than 5. And then there was another chemist on the other side of Massachusetts that did the same exact thing, but she was also getting high on the job. And she was also, yes. And whenever they would seize big drugs, Mr. Peters, she would make her own crack in the lab. And prosecutors were trying to hide on both sides, like both sides of Massachusetts, because prosecutors were trying to hide evidence. And because of them, they had to dismiss at least 30,000 cases in the state of Massachusetts. They had to take it all the way to the state Supreme Court. But it's really, really good. It's even more into it. But since we're just talking about exposing, I really wanted to put that out there. That's a nice 4-episode docuseries I think everybody should watch. I was just like, wow, they really almost got away with it. If it wasn't for just a defense attorney that just wanted to do his due diligence.
Well, what I would say is where there is smoke, there is probably fire.
That's right. That's right. So Kennedy, give them the name of the Netflix series again, so that
it is called How to Fix a Drug Scandal. I'm gonna put it in the comments too.
All right, How to Fix a Drug Scandal, right?
Is that on Netflix?
Yes, sir. It's like every episode, it's just it's a 4-part docuseries, whatever, and it's like maybe 45 minutes to an hour. But I was really on the edge of my seat, like this. I can't believe this is happening right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good deal. So Kennedy, remember after the show, I need to talk to you about something. So
yes,
just
sir.
a reminder there. And then I got something to say. So after last week, guys, we ended up just having a candid conversation, Kennedy. We definitely miss you. But we started talking about credit, and I was just giving some information. And I've been getting hit all week with just questions about different things. So what we decided, I would take a few minutes just to cover one micro topic each show, just to give some education out there. These are just freebies, and then soon I'll be working with Kennedy, and we're going to put together a free credit 101 webinar. That will be coming. We're planning in January, be launching the first week of February, and we'll conduct that one. And so it's going to be free. You just have to register and sign up. We'll let you know when that is up and it comes live. We're only taking an X amount of people. So when you see it, go ahead and register, because you know how free goes. They register fast. And then we'll break down all the basics and everything you need. And I'll start with saying this: everything we do, I always say this, everything we do, there's nothing that I do that you can't do yourself. You can park your own car too. It's just the convenience of having somebody do it, or somebody that's going to do all the research and understand it, that can do it more effectively. I could technically do my own TikTok video. It's just going to take me about 3 days, Well, my daughter could do it in about 30 seconds. So I'm just
Yeah, but you know, you could technically do your own brain surgery.
you could, and you could technically represent yourself in the court of law.
Yes, you can.
But we know if we look at the data on how that works out, we
Not well.
So I wanted to hit this topic because I think this is a big one. So it came up twice. So I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna share this with everybody because
I want to see a Peter's TikTok. Me too, Mr. Pittman. Me too.
I'm telling you. So people always ask, what is the difference between FICO and Vantage Score? I'm just gonna go over 5 differences you should understand. Now, when you
before you do that,
okay,
give everybody the definition of each one of those, because a lot of us, myself included,
Me too, as well.
have really only heard of FICO.
I really don't even know the name of that acronym either.
Okay, so FICO, which you probably heard about, it was created and founded by 2 guys, Bill Fair and Earl Isaac. That's a mathematician and a data scientist. They were not bankers. They were mathematicians and data scientists. And they created basically what is the algorithm that produces your score based on the data that's put into the algorithm.
All right, stop right there, because you about to go off the deep end again. The algorithm is
An algorithm is a formula that's plugged into a computer that does a calculation once you put data in it.
So a bunch of numbers mashed together.
Right. So just imagine a calculator. A calculator is an algorithm. Then based on what keys you punch on the calculator, it computes an answer for you.
So you're saying in essence that they equated a number to different categories, and then they mash all that stuff together to come up with the sauce that creates a FICO.
That's right. And what the whole point of that was to create a prediction on your likelihood to pay.
Right. Now tell Kennedy what FICO actually means, because like her, when you first brought this idea, I'm like, what?
I don't even know FICO. I just check my credit score on my app and it says FICO. But
so FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation. And it comes from the name of the 2 guys, Bill Fair, Earl Isaac.
I thought it was something really important. It's just them.
Now, it was short, and so it used to actually, people say the whole name and then it got shortened to FICO. Vantage Score, which is the other score, which is the score you're going to see when you check your own credit. It's the score that you're going to see on anything other than FICO, because you have to specifically pull FICO. It costs a lot more, and most people don't have any idea how to read it because it's not as intuitive. So you really have to understand what you're looking at. But Vantage Score is what you're looking at when you look at your Credit Karma, which is not even a score. It's just an estimation. They have their own system, their own formula, which they try to estimate and predict your score, but that's not really your score. That's why you need to check from a true credit score source, and I'll talk about that a little bit later.
So I'm stopping you along the way and asking questions that pop in my head, because I think all of this is super important. So FICO is the real. Correct?
Well, they're both real, but FICO is the official one. Yes, FICO is what the bank is going to pull.
Okay, so that's official. Vantage is vanity. That's kind of an estimation of how pretty you are.
Well, yeah, Vantage is an educational score.
Okay, so if education was beauty, then how pretty you are.
Exactly. Now,
here's what people.
Go ahead, Kenny. Go ahead.
So, will, like, if you're trying to, let's say, rent an apartment, will, like, the landlord pull your FICO score then, or is that completely different? Okay.
Your FICO score. Now, for another day, there's a lot of variations of the FICO score. So we can't go in that today. That's another day.
Right.
But what people don't realize about the Vantage Score, This is when you check your own credit for any reputable source. You're going to get your Vantage score. Even the Credit Karma score is a prediction of your Vantage score. The Vantage score is a result of a collaboration between Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion.
Now, who are those people?
I know that was going to catch people off guard there. So the 3 credit bureaus that are responsible for all of your data that is plugged in the algorithm, they created the Vantage score. That's a creation of the collaboration between the 3 of them.
So so tell me if I'm right, and I could be totally wrong, but there's a benefit to those 3 credit bureaus of you messing with Credit Karma or any other one that gives you Vantage score, because they know when you're doing it and they can plug in other information, correct or not?
Yes. So it's not that the Vantage score is bad when you pull it from a true source, because you're not going to get all the ads. The reason why I'm not a fan of Credit Karma doesn't charge you a fee. You know, you pull it from a true source if they charge you a fee. Credit Karma didn't charge you a fee because they make their money from all the credit card companies. So the reason why the credit card companies pay them a lot of money is to get access to you checking your credit and what you're doing, and then they put stuff in front of you to say you qualify for this, apply now, you qualify for this. Every time you click on anything in Credit Karma is getting it.
All right. I didn't mean to pull you away from what you were saying, but I knew somebody had to be benefiting from that.
Yeah. So, and of course, the bureau's customers are the banks. So they're not you. So that's why they're not friendly to us, because we don't pay them anything. So they don't really. That's why you have to fight with them so much.
Yeah.
Now, that's that. The differences I want to talk about is they have different scoring models. So that's why if you look at your Vantage score, it might say one thing, and you pull your FICO score and it says something totally different. And that's because the way they score is totally different. They put different weight on different things. They all score on the same 5 categories, which is payment history, length of credit, types of credit, credit usage, and inquiries. They both use those same five criteria. However, the weight that they put on each one is very different. And so that's what I wanted to highlight, and that's the part that confuses people. So for example, here's an example here, both FICO and the Vantage score issue scores ranging from 300 to 850. That was a change. In the past, FICO score, Vantage scores went up to 99.
Oh.
They changed it in recent years to make it parallel to the FICO score, because that was really confusing people. People like, I got a 925. Then you do your FICO score and you got a 6 something.
You're right.
So that's the difference. The Vantage scores numerical rankings now match FICO, and that wasn't always the case. So that was one of the big changes, I think about 2 years ago. The other thing they do differently is they have a variance in the scoring requirements, which is what I talked about. So, for example, the way they treat student loans, FICO has a much higher rating on student loans than Vantage does, but they have different ratings on auto loans and mortgage. So that's the value of weight that they have. So, say for example, if and I'll break down what those exact weights are another time, but let's say Vantage weighs your student loan debt at 20% and FICO weighs it at 12%. That means in that category, if your student loan debt is higher, Vantage is going to score you lower, FICO is going to score you higher. Some cases, they might not even consider student loan. So all of that, that's what gives you the variances in your scores, and why your scores don't match is because they weigh things differently. Late payments, they weigh late payments differently. And I'm gonna have to provide this document because I'm giving you highlights, because to go into this is much deeper, but they have the way they weigh late payments is very different. And then the next thing that they do differently So FICO uses a 45-day span for credit inquiries. So let's say you duplicate credit inquiries. So let's say you're buying a car. You know how they have sent out, you go to the car lot, they check your credit, they send that out to a bunch of banks and they all pull your credit. So you got a bunch of inquiries on your account. FICO will look at a 45-day span, and if you have any duplications, it only counts against you once.
One time.
For FICO.
Yes.
Vantage is different. So those are some of the things that you just have to know and understand. That's why your credit score will always be different between the two. So once you know the differences, you can look at your Vantage score and have a pretty good idea of what your FICO is. But you, without knowing what they do differently, there's no way you'll ever know. And so that prevents you from going somewhere thinking, I got great credit, and they pull your credit and they're like, no.
Right. Because that Vantage score is usually not.
It's usually higher.
It's higher. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually higher. And so FICO, like, here's what another, like FICO will ignore all collections where the original balance is under 100. Vantage does not.
Mm-hmm. So
it just really depends on your credit report and what your activity is and how much this weighs and that weighs. But those are the differences. They are real scores, but they're very different in terms of how they're calculated. And so I just wanted to kind of at least give some people the basics to understand that Vantage is a creation of the three bureaus. And often, in most cases, there are some cases where it will be reversed. But in most people's cases, your Vantage score is going to be higher.
Okay, so I have a question, Mr. Peters.
Mm-hmm.
You said they're both real scores.
Well, yeah, they're both real.
So I can go get a car loan with a Vantage score?
No.
Okay.
Remember, Vantage is for education purposes only.
Okay, so that's what I was getting at, because a lot of people show up at the bank with the Vantage score and they come out of there with the head down because they hadn't checked the FICO.
The Vantage score can't get you no money.
Okay, so that's the part our listeners need to know.
Yeah. And so that's why when you come to classes and we break this down and you understand it, you'll understand. We try to teach understanding the differences so you move differently. So you know, okay, look, FICO judges that harsher. So you can't do that. You've got to button this up. And so we work off those principles because we know the difference. So we're going to teach you to do the behavior that's going to reward you in FICO. The hardest thing, the thing that takes time to do is obviously pay debt down. We all, if you're college educated, we all have student loans. But there's some things you can do to make sure you get the optimized point value that you can get, like never letting your student loans be a default. There are programs out there keeping them in good standing, staying out of default. Defaults will kill you in FICO. It doesn't hurt you as much in Vantage, but it's going to kill you in FICO. So those things, but when you go to a bank or you apply for any loan or job, when they checking your credit, they will always pull the FICO score.
Okay.
Vantage score is for people to educate you. And the reason why it was created, FICO score is expensive. The Vantage score is a much more affordable score, so people can afford to pull their credit and check it.
Yeah.
Vantage score costs you $20 a month. You got to put in your Vantage score. FICO score can cost you $70, $80 every time you put it.
So, like, since mine is with my bank, am I really paying anything? Like, it's on the Bank of America app, like my FICO score. So are you still paying somehow, some way?
Well, the bank is paying, but you're a customer of the bank, so they're providing.
So that's why. Okay. I just want to know.
Let me ask you another question. It's not related to this, I don't think, but I saw a commercial for it. What is Experian Boost? What is that?
So Experian, it's a product that they created to basically boost your credit score based on certain criteria. And that's not going to boost everybody. So you got to read the fine print and see what it actually does. So based on your situation, it may boost your score. And there's some other things that it can consider. It can consider, like, if you don't have a mortgage and you rent, then there you can get a statement from your landlord showing your payment history that can be included. There's some other things, but it will tell you exactly what Boost does if you go on the website. And then if you are in good standing in those areas, then Boost will help you. If you're not in good standing in those areas, you won't have a boost.
Okay.
You're gonna have a push in the wrong direction.
Gotcha.
So, but from on average, what I've seen, like for me, for example, I can just take myself. My FICO score runs about, on average, about 35 to 40 points higher. My Vantage score runs about 35 to 40 points higher than my FICO. So that and I know that, and I know why it does that. So I move in a way to always protect that. But that's just what I wanted people to know, because most people don't know what it is. They're like, what's a Vantage score? That's my credit score. That's not what the bank is going to do. You got to, once you've worked on your credit, you get to a point, then you go pull a FICO, and you'll know if you pull the FICO, because if your bank is not providing for you, you pull the FICO, it costs you.
Mm-hmm.
If you go pull your own FICO score, there's no way you can get it for free. And then here's the other thing I want to clear up. Yes, you can go to annualreport.com and get a free credit report once a year. That credit report will not have your scores.
So we do have a question, Mr. Peters, from Mr. Pittman. He said, so where do I get the Vantage score?
The Vantage score is on every service you use to pull your credit. There's tons of them out there. They all use the Vantage score because that's what's used for educational purposes.
So you're saying, like, if you're thinking about getting a mortgage or you're thinking about getting a car loan, the sites that ask you questions and then send you back a number.
Yeah, or even if you go to like a site like Smart Credit, or if you go to Identity Secure, any of those credit, they use the Vantage score. Now, some of them also have the option where you can pull FICO. It's much higher, much more expensive. So, for example, for like in our program, our credit restoration program, we use your Vantage score because it's affordable. That's all we need to work with you to improve your score, because we know how to read it and we understand it. And that's what we use for educational purposes, because it keeps it affordable and people can afford the service. Then once we get you to a certain point, then we have you go out and pull your FICO to see where you can stand there. But most people can't afford to run FICO while they're going through the process because of just the price tag alone.
Right. That makes sense. So even in our service, we're using Vantage to educate on the front end, and then once you get ready, get some things cleared up, get some educational points under your belt, then you pull your FICO.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna put a link in the chat too if you want to go. And any good, like the one we use, and any good one will also have identity and fraud theft protection and a lot of other good services. I use the one that we particularly use in our program for our clients because it has a lot of other features that I even use. The money manager, all kind of education features that helps you do a better job of managing your money. So I'll put that link, but that will give you your 3 bureaus. If you notice, if you go to Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, you only get 2. It's only predicting what your TransUnion and what your Equifax score is. It will never give you all 3 bureaus.
Okay. We have another question too from Mr. Pim. He says, so if I have a good credit, do I need to be concerned about Vantage?
Always, because how do you know you have good? I mean, if it still tells you what your credit is and give you an idea of what your credit. What you're looking at with the Vantage score is because you can detail the information to look specifically at the activity. Most people get tied up in the score, but when we're working with you, we're looking at what the actual data says. How many days were you late? How many, that's because that's what's depicted in the score. The score is just a caveat of the data that's put in the system. So I'm really trying to correct the data. So yes, you should always keep monitoring. You should always know your Vantage score. And then periodically, once a year or so, you should check your FICO. Or you may want to check with your bank first. They may provide that for you as part of your account. most people have it and don't even know they have
Very
All
good.
right, Mr.
Very good.
Peters. Yes, very informational.
it. So back to Kennedy, back to you. But I just did want to give that education about Vantage and FICO because most people have no idea. And like Charles says, they go print out. I've had people even do it. They print out
Vantage score.
we had this happen to us one time because somebody was trying to finance their legal services and they pulled in a report. It brought in it sent to me. They credit score said I got good credit. Why I'm getting denied? It was the Advantage score, and it actually wasn't good. but it was they didn't understand that it was going to be a much difference in that. And that for credit they took your FICO and they didn't understand how to read the differences. So just didn't want people to get embarrassed to go out there and not understand the difference between the two.
Yes, and guys, this is just a little snippet. It will be happening in the beginning of February, everyone. So please stay tuned. Very great, Mr. Peters. Thank you. Informed me about a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I got to work on my credit too. So
Credit is a constant working on thing. Even if you have good credit, you want to keep it. So it's the thing you constantly work on because what people don't realize, perfect credit score is 850. The higher your credit score is, the less tolerance they have for mistakes. So if you got a perfect credit score and you have a late payment, it's about to knock you about 80 to 100 points.
Dang. Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Oof. Yeah. Really adulting right now. Too much adulting going on. I'm still trying to have fun. You know, yeah, I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, but you know what? You would be the ideal candidate because college campuses are notorious for credit card applications. And understanding your credit and knowing how to navigate that space will save you a lot in the long run when you really get down to adulting and all those free credit cards with the perks come back to bite you when you need to buy a car or get a mortgage or insurance, different things that they're going to put a credit score to because they're looking at your likelihood to pay them on time.
Yeah, I have one credit card. My dad, like, once in my sophomore year, he said we really need to get you a credit card to build on your credit, so you don't kind of be like how I was when I was in college. I couldn't really card it because I had to build up my credit. So that's why he wanted me to get it. But I only use my credit. Well, over break, I was using a little bit more for what I was supposed to use it for, but I pay it off. But I just use it for like gas and groceries while I'm in college. Like that's really it, and just pay it off.
Yeah,
That's
so
all.
you got to know when to pay it off and how to pay it off.
Yeah.
In order to get the maximum benefit from that. Leslie can clue you in on that.
Yeah, listen, I tell somebody, you go to the gas station when you're at college and you're hungry at 2 a.m, that one soda you bought that you're gonna be paying for the next 20 years. That one soda that costs less than $2, by the time you get through paying for it, it's gonna cost you about $600-700.
Yeah, no, my credit score is doing pretty good though. But like I said, everyone, this is just a little snippet of what will be happening in early February. So please stay tuned. The other stuff that I have on the agenda today, which is some good lighthearted stuff. One of them was in the past shows. I don't know if you guys, it was not the past shows, but just in the past news within Jackson News, recently the like U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI, things of that such, higher federal governments are really trying to work with Jackson Police to break down hard on crime. And really, it's this one community organization called Strong Arms of Jackson, and they're trying to tackle violence within like basically just understanding the youth in Jackson, which I think is really great. I've been learning in these like a lot of my classes because I have a minor in criminal justice right now. I'll be completed this spring. But how can I say this? Having a crime, like a criminal mentality or things of that nature, or like juvenile delinquency, that doesn't just happen overnight. It happens over time, which is why I really wanted to shed highlight on this community organization, because if you tackle the problem ahead, it won't cause delinquency. If we're being honest, I had to learn this in my class that I took this past semester called juvenile justice, and it really opened my eyes and broadened my eyes to a lot of things. And really, if we're being honest, and I feel hopefully it will improve in Jackson with the youth, is just it starts with the foundation, your upbringing, also your schooling, things of that nature. So shout out to the strong arms of Jackson for really just trying to work on that, really getting connected with the youth in Jackson. Another thing that I thought was really nice was also a Keith French, who is a Tiger alumnus. He paired up with Ricky Robinson, who's a Jackson native, and he donated and created uniforms for Jim Hill High School boys and girls basketball team. And Robinson has also made, paraphernalia and stuff like that for Deion Sanders. So I thought that was really good as well. Just I wanted to highlight that. And just the last thing I did want to highlight, and which is very important, I have to pull up on my phone because I literally just saw it this morning. I don't know if you guys know, but well, Mr. Dr. Irvin, I don't know if you really heard about it, but 18-year-old Raven Coleman was shot and killed yesterday at Ellis Avenue Plaza while stopping to pay a bill at T-Mobile,
Hmm.
right up the street from school. And
Yeah.
I just saw it this morning, and so our thoughts and prayers go out to her. But now I hope people are really starting to understand. I guess as I've grown with as I've been here in Jackson State, I'm getting more and more in my major. I realize the importance of politics, but not only that, I realize the importance of community while being here at Jackson State.
Yeah. You're part of something that's much larger, much more dynamic, much more diverse. And whether it's talked about or not, you have issues with poverty, you have issues with crime, you have issues with race, you have issues with the type of policing, the methods, the tactics, all of that, you know, depending on which area of town you are in. That doesn't mean the police are bad. It doesn't mean the police are good. It doesn't mean that they're not doing their job or are doing their job. You have issues larger than just policing to think about before you can diagnose what's going on in the community, especially in the communities that surround Jackson State, because you have diverse groupings that surround Jackson State. And so, I think kudos to the group that you're discussing, but there are also many other groups that have connections, especially to the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Pittman was just asking questions about his credit, but the three of us and Dr. Abram have a nonprofit that's connected to the youth, Building Professionals Group, trying to address those same systemic issues. So that's in my estimation, that's how you curb some of this stuff, is to expose the youth to a different dynamic.
I completely agree.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think the reality also is, you know, you hit it. You have to, and we'll have to have Ms. Pittman and Dr. Abram on to really talk about the process for really engaging the community and for really getting the buy-in. And it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
Yeah.
Why why BPG has found some success, why other organizations similar has found some success, but it's really about consistency. And I'm talking about particularly early on consistency when it seems like nobody's buying it. And
Yeah.
that's, we'll have to get them on to really talk about that and go more in depth with that. But that it's going to take all of us doing our part. And particularly you guys coming up doing your part to pay it forward by engaging, because not everybody has people around them that move them to in a positive direction.
Yes.
You
Right.
know,
And college makes you like realize that. That's why I said over the past couple of months, and really just as I've grown here at Jackson State, it just made me realize, it really starts with a childhood's upbringing, the foundation, but not only that, just exposing them to different things. And when I took that juvenile justice class last semester, it really did open my eyes to a lot of things. And everybody's situation is different, and so don't be so quick to judge. But hopefully we will see progress soon. Like I said, the FBI, U.S. Attorney, like a lot of federal agent governments have been trying to work with Jackson Police to tackle this issue. Jackson Police was also awarded a $500,000 grant not too long ago as well. So hopefully we'll get some type of issues going on. And we also have a new, uh, oh my gosh, Mr. I'm at a loss for words right now.
Sheriff.
Not a, yes, sorry. We just had the debate for that, not this past. Yes. So yes. And also I wanted to ask Dr. Irvin to inform the public and also just keep them aware of midterm elections and how important they are. Everyone, they are coming up. So can you give them a little 2-minute spill, Professor Irvin, Dr. Irvin?
Sure. I mean, this is the ball game, ladies and gentlemen. If the Democrats are unseated in the midterm elections, you can expect rollbacks in every area of progress, whether that's contributing to the economic disparity in the Black community, whether that's focusing with a laser in limiting your voting rights, which they're already doing. It is now law in Georgia that it is a felony to provide water to people who are standing in line for long periods of time. So you can get arrested for that. These are the
I
type of
just saw
things.
that this morning.
Yeah, you can get arrested for those type things. You also who you're grouped with in your voting. I know that sounds weird, but what that means is, what does your congressional district look like? All congressional districts are made up of the same number of people, but they can have real squiggly lines. For instance, Benny Thompson has been in Congress for a very long time. He is over the January 6th commission right now, trying to bring justice to those people who broke into the Capitol to cause mayhem, some cause death, and he's trying to bring those things to light. Well, one of the things the majority power can do when they have control is they rewrite the congressional district lines. Congressman Thompson's new district is how do I say it without being ugly? It's a Frankenstein for this reason. When is the last time you've heard of a congressional district having 40 counties in it? Parts of, not all, not the whole county, but parts of. That's highly unusual considering Mississippi only has 82 counties.
That's half of the, oh wow.
Exactly. And so what they've done is they've tried to dilute him by stretching it from north and south, because part of his congressional district is the Delta, and part of it is Hinds County, and they've been trying to dilute the power of the Hinds County vote simply because it's Black.
Yes.
And so now they've run him almost from DeSoto County, almost all the way to the coast, down the west side of the state.
What?
Yeah. So
that is way.
You see weird creative drawings. It's like they put some 10-year-olds or no younger than that, some 4-year-olds in a room and said, make it pretty, but with a very sinister motive. So those are the type of things that we're talking about: Medicaid, insurance, taxes.
Yes.
COVID-19.
Yeah.
I have a simple question. When are midterm elections?
You have the primaries coming up this summer, and then the general election. So everybody understands the difference between the primary.
I was about to slow you down. Now, what's a primary?
Primary is so I've been using basketball analogies all day. So think about the primary being the early tournament that gets you to the championship. It's like the semifinals, but it's South State, North State. So if you have 2 or more Democrats running, then they in the primary, they'll figure out which one is going to represent the Democrats. Same thing on the Republican side. And then independents will be on the ballot in November. So and then same thing with whoever wins those primaries will get on the ballot to contest against each other.
Okay.
So I'll have to get you the congressional district, but one of my chapter brothers is running for Congress in Mississippi,
Wow.
out of the Hattiesburg region. Former Mayor Johnny Dupree is putting his name in the hat. He's going to run. He's qualified and has a tremendous amount of experience and will be a good fit for that area. But I think they did some squiggly lines to his area too. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how all these new lines operate. Coincidentally, federal voting rights, it looks like it right now is not looking promising because today, Senator Sinema from Arizona.
Yes. And Manchin too. Don't forget Manchin too.
Yeah, but I know I didn't see Manchin today, but I did see Sinema. I did see Sinema today said no to changing anything related to the filibuster rules, which kind of hurts the Democrats' case really, really bad when it comes to federal voting rights. And why that's important is this: if you're going to charge somebody a felony for serving water to people in line to vote in lines that you made long because you monkeyed with the voting supply of voting machines and whatnot, then you really need federal protections. We once had federal protections, but they've been struck down, they've been watered down, and in some cases outright obliterated. So Congress needs to act on that right away. Because, you know, as Black people, you really only had the 15th Amendment to cover you as far as one person, one vote, but without any legislative might behind it, meaning law, then you end up with these weird state by state issues that look eerily similar to poll taxes and Jim Crow in 2021. What in the world happened? Somebody to roll back the clock.
It's sad, but I definitely did. I wanted to tell the audience that's really what I want you guys to understand. And like Dr. Irvin said earlier, diluting the Black vote, especially in Mississippi, that's something that I really learned in one of my classes. Shout out to Dr. Roy for teaching me that. But this past semester in Blacks and American political systems, but just please pay attention to that. Please vote. Your vote really matters more now than ever. I don't think you guys understand. It's already a law put in place to where we can't sell people water while they're voting. It's already hard to get Black people to vote. And then not only that, they're making it hard for voting destinations to be far for certain people. And it's already a lot of struggles put against us. So that's why if you have the opportunity, please go vote. Please, it just matters more than now, more than ever. So thank you, Dr. Irvin, for your spiel. I do appreciate that.
You are welcome.
That's a super dope producer over there, you know.
Yeah. No doubt.
Kennedy, I got to tell you, I appreciate your research, but we got another somewhat blow today, depending on how you see it, with what happened with the Supreme Court and their ruling. You want to talk about that?
Yes. So today, it happened earlier this week. With the Supreme Court blocked Joe Biden's law to basically mandate masks and vaccines, but they did put it into effect for healthcare workers. And you know what? When I was reading this article and I was looking at it, I can kind of see both sides on why they blocked it, only because if we're being honest, it does infringe on other people's rights because some people really do not have to get the vaccine, which is very true. But I do like how they did put it into effect for healthcare workers because I apologize, but you really working, in the healthcare industry, you can't work on other patients and possibly put them at risk with this virus. But you know what? We'll have to see. That's also one of the things, like I said, it's very important to just pay attention to politics.
So I would say, as your professor, go beyond the article and look at Justice Sonia Sotomayor's opinion in the dissent. Because what they are doing is tantamount to changing regulations that have been in place for numerous of years for other issues that were apolitical. So it goes counter to the body of law, and
Mm.
it's highly politicized in how it's being ruled upon, because OSHA is there for workplace safety. You mean to tell me in the middle of a pandemic, if the science is telling you that a mask is going to make you safe, you're going to take that out? That's politics.
Right there. And
Yeah.
I think one thing that I noticed that you just said too, Dr. Irvin, one thing I noticed throughout this whole, well, not this year because this being funny, but this year just started. But last year for sure, um, they are really going back and overthrowing, I don't want to say overthrowing, but testing other cases that's already been put in place, like in within the Supreme Court. I noticed that. A prime example is with that abortion case too, like Roe versus Wade. So
Kennedy,
it's just, it's yes, sir.
I'm going to remind you of something that Dr.
Yes, sir.
Irvin and we tried to stress to you, and we wanted you to communicate out to your colleagues, your peers. That's why I always say all politics are local, because
Mm-hmm.
why is the Supreme Court now swayed this way? Is because who appointed the last 3 Supreme Court justices?
Our past person in charge, Trump
Okay.
himself, which also swayed the whole Supreme Court justice to be Republican. And
And
so
then
that also
also, wait a minute, and get this, and
mm,
how many federal judges did he appoint, which are also lifetime appointments. So my point is this: when he say it's politics, because people will sometimes say, "Well, politics are not in the justice system."
no,
You want to run that by me again?
I had to inform my friends on that too because they didn't know. I was like, it is important. I said he just appointed all these being a Supreme Court justice because they're not really political science majors like me. I said that is a lifetime. Like, so that means they can sit on cases like for the rest of their life until they die, and they
Mhm.
can sway the vote. So that's why I just really wanted to urge. I really wanted to end the show on this, but please pay attention to your local, state, and federal politics. Please vote. It matters. So yes.
Yeah. And they will tell you what you just said. Well, I can see both sides. That's the conclusion they want you to draw.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when common sense comes in, as Justice Sotomayor said, you mean to tell me that you can protect the human against a machine, as far as safety? You can have standards for that, but you can't protect the human against another human.
Right. Wait a minute, I got one for you. You can protect the animal against a human,
Right.
but you can't protect the human against a human.
Right. I mean, so at a certain point, it's very, very bad, because that means all the things that I was saying at the beginning of the show as it relates to variants. You're
It could
putting
possibly, yeah.
you're putting people in danger in enclosed environments, because those who are asymptomatic or those who just don't give a hoot and are going to do what they're going to do. Now the job doesn't have any way of policing that.
Schools, jobs, all of that. Don't
So
have a
that allows for spread.
so
And therein lies the problem. And what you probably haven't seen that I know is a ripple effect of it. Just recently, the amount of long-term superintendents that all of a sudden resign as of this ruling, because now I can't keep nobody safe,
Right.
because now I can't force anybody to do anything. And so, but yet you force us to make sure our kids go to school where they don't even have an option to stay home. You force that. So
Yeah.
we have to be active in the process. We have to make sure we are participating in the process. We educate ourselves, and that we vote in a calculated manner. We vote with knowledge, and we vote in numbers. Period.
Yeah.
That's old, young,
Yeah.
in
And so
between.
I want to address a couple things before we get off. I just saw somebody put up, I wonder if the CDC is making it up as they go. The Center for Disease Control is scientists who have been politicized. And so they're being pressured by big business. They're being pressured by the president. They're being pressured by the party that's not in power, being the Republicans. They're getting pressure from all sides to interpret the data in a way that will fit what they need. On one side, President Biden and his team are trying to give people the facts that the scientists are coming up with, and realizing that we've never faced anything quite like COVID, and that the more data we get in from the beginning to now, you're going to change certain standards. But then you have other people who turn right around and politicize it, so it makes their job incredibly hard. And I know we say politics, but some things should be common sense at this point in time, that the virus is not going to go away unless we do our part.
Exactly.
The other thing I want to point out is this. When we look at the issues of the day, whether that's in the Black community and we're looking at policing and we want social justice reforms, or if it's the Republican side and they want tax reforms for business, all of those things are tied to one person and one vote. If you allow your voice to be drowned out because of all the negative energy that surrounds voting these days, then don't cry about how things are going in society. Don't do that, because you didn't exercise your franchise. And I realize it's getting more and more difficult to do that with these new state laws that are suppressed. They're actively suppressing the vote. Why? Kennedy, I think I told you all this when we were in the run-up to the presidential. Because of generational issues in the birth of babies, white America is not producing babies at the same rate. Well, if you don't produce babies at the same rate, then that means you don't have voters at the same rate. And eventually the scales are going to tip to where more brown people are going to have the majority, whether that's Black people or Latinx or otherwise. Those numbers are just not going to add up over time. And so the way you stay in power is to restrict the vote. People need to understand that. They need to embrace that. And they need to vote like your life depends on it, because it does. I mean, who wants to go back to a regime that didn't even want to acknowledge that COVID was real?
Hello.
Yeah. Charles, I sent some over in the message.
Yeah, I saw it.
But you're right. I mean, but Charles, talk about the last thing I wanted to cover in midterms, and Kennedy and I hit on it in a little bit. But the off cycle. So also in midterms, you have some governor races, like Georgia is on the midterm cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Some governor races are on the presidential cycle. This midterm is important across. You got mayor races, some are on the midterm cycle, as well as representatives and senators. So just talk about the importance of us getting out and how it impacts us locally and nationally. Maybe you can give some examples. I'm really just trying to really employ people to understand the urgency we have to participate in the process. Whatever your views are, I have no respect for them if you don't participate in the process.
Right.
Participate in the process.
So everybody needs to not make excuses and educate themselves on who's running for what in your area. Because you're right. You have different cycles for different states. So for one concrete example, Stacey Abrams is running against someone. I'm not going to give that name any airtime, but she's running for governor in Georgia. Now, we'll get this other one airtime because I know my people and I know how we feel about football in the South. And I'm going to tell you before I say the name, stop it. Just stop it. Because Reverend Raphael Warnock was elected to the Senate in Georgia on a special election to end out the term of the person who preceded him. Now he has to, in this particular election that's getting ready to come up, he's going to be running against Herschel Walker, more than likely, who's a famous running back, who happens to be black. Qualification-wise, the qualifications are vague when applying to run for office. You don't have to meet much, which is why you end up with some of the people you end up with. But I would say, don't just let football be the decider in that vote, because his views, although he looks like you, his views are not yours. He is running to promote the agenda of our former president, Donald Trump.
All kinfolk ain't all skinfolk ain't kinfolk. Yeah, I don't have the same. Just want to put that out there one last time.
Yeah,
I knew what you were saying. I'm just shaking my head.
Yeah, I mean, I want to make that clear because it's evident that that's the ploy, that we will be silly enough to vote for him because he was a great football player.
Well, we've already seen it play out in Alabama in the last election, in the presidential election with the Senate race.
Yeah, that's a little bit different though. That's Alabama. That's a white head coach. But what they're doing here is they're trying to put us against each other.
Right.
And I'm saying stop it, because either y'all think we blind, or we're deaf, or we just don't really care. And these issues are too important for us to play those type of silly skin games. We got to educate ourselves on the issues and who's going to be a better representative of all the people. I'm not talking about just black people, all the people, because some of these people who are going up there to represent us in Congress to make a collective body in the House of Representatives and the United States Senate are not living up to their oath, and they're not taking care of the small people. And who makes up the majority of communities in America are small people with mom and pop businesses that may have 1 to 10 employees, and they all need assistance right now. And they're not getting that from the people that are there. It's supposed to be a representative democracy, meaning the person that's speaking at the mic up there is supposed to have a shared value with you. We've gotten away from voting in midterms. We like to vote in the presidential. And what's happened is they figured that out. They created an algorithm, as Leslie would say, and they slanted their vote toward the off season, away from the presidential, to take control of these state houses, these city governments, so that they come up with these erratic proposals that hurt people. And I'm saying, stop it. We got to get our boots on the ground. We got to do what we got to do to get these votes in. And that's in every community. That's not just a Mississippi thing. If you think Atlanta is Wakanda, then people over there got to vote.
This man.
Yeah, the way with analogies, I'll tell you that.
Oh, wait, what word?
Get us out of here. Get us out of here.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a great weekend. Bye.